Welcome back to my mental health and crime channel. My name is Huda London. This is for educational purpose only. This is the case of the Idaho quadruples that took place on the 13th of November 2022. May the 4 victims rest in peace, condolence to the families, and may the correct justice be served. I find it really concerning that Idaho, Moscow, Later County is fighting to keep this case in Later County. I find that concerning and very unfair, especially for Brian Christopher Koberger. Everyone's entitled to correct justice. There's a reason that cases that are high profiled usually end up in another courtroom. I do understand that these 4 students belonged to Idaho Moscow College. I do understand that Idaho Moscow wants justice for these 4 victims. This happened in their county. I do respect that. But this is bias. Let's be honest. It is bias. And I'll show you why. The trial hasn't even started. But Later County are refusing to change this trial to another courtroom. They believe that they can find 12 jury members that are non-biased.
Closing arguments. I'm Judge Ashley Wilcott in tonight for Vinnie Politan. We begin tonight in Moscow, Idaho, where accused quadruple murderer Brian Koberger was in court today for a change of venue motion hearing. Now, as of now, the trial is set to be held in Latah County, where the town of Moscow and the University of Idaho are located. And it is where this horrible tragedy took place. The defense has argued that the media coverage of the case in Latah County has created a mob mentality and that the residents feel a certain pressure to convict their client. In the defense's motion, they included quotes from some of Latah County residents they surveyed when asked what would happen if Brian Koberger was not convicted. Listen to how some of those residents responded. First quote, "They'd burn the courthouse down. Outrage would be a mild description. They would probably find him and kill him." Here's another one. "There would likely be a riot and he wouldn't last long outside because someone would do the good old boy justice." Enraged, strong opinions, firing of officers. And finally, riots. Parents would take care of him. So the question is, will the trial be moved to Ada County, which is more than 300 miles away, where the defense says there's been significantly less media coverage? Judge John Judge will be ruling on that based on what he heard in today's hearing.
We've been primarily asked to look at the, without even being hyperbolic, let's say, an extreme amount of media coverage, its impact on a population or a community, and a statistical volume of that media exposure on various communities across the U.S., but focused on several counties within. Yes, a person in Latah County would be exposed to far more media coverage than people, a community in Ada County.
Based on the data that you're seeing, is this story waning in the news.
No. In fact, if we could make one more line on any of these media coverage over time charts, you would see an upslope on the first one, this chart. So you already see it ticking up when I compared Lake Top to Ada. If we could bring that chart forward to today, you would see that going up, and that will be consistent anytime this case has significant news or a significant hearing in Latah and Idaho County. It will be of interest, and I would say that the delta or the difference between Latah and Idaho County will continue to be statistically similar. It will probably potentially always be of greater interest in Latah County than in Idaho County.
So fair to say for that first 6 months, Ada County did have, at times, fairly significantly more media coverage than Latah County.
Correct.
So my role was to evaluate how publicity about a case could shape potential jurors when they come in and sit on the panel. What we found in research over many, many years, decades, is that if somebody has any kind of indicator of authority, even if it's something as minor as height, but certainly, an occupational status, title, that people will take their words so far that they'll do things to contradict their own morals, and they'll be influenced in areas beyond the person's expertise, like a doctor influencing you in your relationships or something that's totally irrelevant. And so we take it a little bit too far. And in the case of Moscow and Latah County, it's a really small community, right? And so the authority figures are often going to be people who are known and well-trusted. And, so that makes the effect even potentially more problematic. And, as you know, Chief Fry, the chief of the police at the time, had said that he was certain that he arrested the right suspect and he didn't have any doubts. And so the community would say, okay, well, the chief of police is sure, so then I can be sure too.
There's a lot of pictures of Mr. Koberger in the media. Do you mean that when we walk into trial and the room's full of potential jurors, there's going to be a great majority of them that before we sit down are going to have a feeling of bias against Mr. Koberger?
Yeah, I do. You've seen the pictures, these ominous headlines, and that connection can't help but be made.
Based on your years of teaching human bias and your extensive study of human bias, do you have an opinion about whether the extensive pretrial publicity has impacted the Latah County jury pool?
I do. I think it would be so hard to be a member of that community and be able to come in and be objective, and arguably impossible. So we don't have a known method for undoing things, and the things have been done. They felt the emotions, they've seen the publicity, they've had the discussions, they've been to the vigils, and even if they want to be as objective as possible, and even if we disregard some of the limitations I talked about before, research has not uncovered a way to undo this after it's there. And so the recommended best practice by the vast majority of researchers on this topic is find people who don't have that information.
So we did the survey in Latah County and then conducted several comparison surveys after that hearing in Ada County, Bannock County, and Canyon County. This is really looking at what people are seeing on social media and through informal communication networks. And the reason I did that is because it's a small county, and in small counties, people talk. So people are more likely to know, rumors and speculation because people know the victims, they know the defendant, or someone's worked with somebody who knows the defendant or victim. So from my experience, you have a lot of information disseminated through informal communication channels and through social media in high-profile cases.
We have clearly heard the experts in human behavior and other professionals who have conducted surveys saying that Brian Christopher Koberger would most likely not get a fair trial in Latah County. So these are the facts. In my opinion, I find this to be really concerning. Because if Chief Fry said that he had the right guy, which is Brian Christopher Koberger, Chief Fry said that they were searching for a white Hyundai Elantra 2011 to 2013 model. They were searching for the occupant in the white car. Brian Christopher Koberger drives a 2016 Hyundai Elantra. His windows are not tinted. They're not dark at all. But the car that we saw passing the gas station at 3:45, or was it 3:25, seemed definitely to have tinted windows. Now what is strange is that Jack D has a Hyundai Elantra, and his Hyundai Elantra, or his family's Hyundai Elantra that was parked in front of his house, had tinted windows. Now Jack D is very interesting in this case because where was he? Was he actually sleeping? The person who confirmed that he saw him go into his room and he went to sleep was Adam Lauder, the one that Maddie, Kaylee and Jack Showalter was discussing about. And now 2 hours before they were unalive, when Kaylee said, Maddie, what did you say to Adam? And she said, I told Adam like everything. So what was everything? Who did Adam tell? It's the question. Brian Christopher Koberger is entitled to a fair trial, and he's never going to get a fair trial in Later County. It is, sorry to say, nonsense what they're doing. It's just concerning. It's nonsense when they say that they can get 12 jury members who have never heard of this case. I live in London, UK, and I know I'm a YouTube creator who follows true crime. But if I have been hearing about this case from the beginning, and many people in the UK and the world have heard about this, because this wasn't a regular, everyday crime. This was a quadruple. And we saw many dodgy people moving around that night. Why does Later County want to try this case? It's starting to sound like a cover-up. Why are they blaming social media? It's the mainstream news media that are giving us their news according to Chief Fry. The community in Idaho, Moscow already said that if Brian Christopher Koberger is found guilty, they're going to burn down the courthouse. These are the answers they gave in their survey. These people have made up their minds in Later County. Come now, Brian C. Koberger, by entry's attorney of record, hereby submits this reply to the state's objection to his motion for change of venue. The pressure to convict Brian Koberger is so severe that Later County survey respondents said if he wasn't convicted, they'd burn down the courthouse. They'd burn the courthouse down. Outrage would be a mild description. Pay attention to this. They would probably find him and unalive him. There would likely be a riot and he wouldn't last long outside because someone would do the good old boy justice. So they're going to take law in their own hands, Wild Wild West. Enraged, strong opinions, firing of officers, riots, parents would take care of him. The mob mentality within the community is the exact reason that statutory grounds prior to select a jury exist to move the venue. Given these responses from potential areas in Moscow and state acknowledgement that a remedy is needed, I can't see the rest because it's written Code TV. So basically what they're trying to say is after reading the survey and what all the people who participated in the survey had to say, that they burned down the courthouse down. How could you burn down a courthouse? That's the law. They would probably find him and unalive him. Imagine if this man is really innocent. These people are passing threat. I think they want this case, let's be honest, to be in Later County for a reason, so that they could handle all the errors, all the cover-up, and all the nonsense they've done. I'm saying that straight out. And that is in my opinion. Maybe they know they don't have the right guy. Maybe it's the Sigma Chi or Sigma Chi fraternity boys who did it. They were under the microscope. They didn't have cameras. According to the Sigma Chi president, which I believe is nonsense. They must have put out the cameras that night because there was a party. And then there was fights going on with the Davids, Eaton, and Zana. These people want to take the justice in their own hand. They are just waiting to harm this man. If he's guilty, he deserves what's coming. But I personally am starting to believe that this is a cover-up. Who are they covering for? The university? Crime organizations? Who are they covering for is the question. Did they pick this man so that they could frame him? Now, this interview came out 6 days ago. I'd like to thank my subscriber who told me about this interview. I really appreciate that. Guys, have you noticed Kaylee's mother, Chrissy, looks good? She lost a lot of weight. And that's good. You can imagine someone who lost a child in such a horrific manner. Life goes on. It's hard, it's shocking, it's hurtful. But I'm happy that they're healing. They all look really good in this picture. But I can't lie. I've always thought of something when it comes to the Gonzalez family. Why doesn't Steve try to mend things with his daughter? The daughter that he had from another marriage, I believe. It's not my business, but it just hurts me as a counselor when the young woman is crying on social media for father's attention. She lost her sister too. And I just feel the poor woman is being ignored. Now, this interview is about what Christy, Steve, and their son, Steve Jr., believe should happen. They don't want this trial to be moved to another county. They believe that they can find, that Later County can find 12 jury members that are non-biased. But what I noticed from the Gonzalez family from the beginning is they were already ready to prosecute Koberger without a trial, in my opinion. They spoke about Brian Christopher Koberger coming in with a kill kit, like Jennifer said, from the FBI. They're aiming for the death penalty, which is fair if they lost their child. People have different opinions about the death penalty. But my question is, Steve, Chrissy, and Steve Jr., why are you all so keen to move this trial? Don't you want the correct justice, or do you all just want any person, any Tom, Dick, or Harry to go down for these horrific crimes?
Rather stay in the top, just out of convenience sake and out of the fact that this is where it happened, this is where it deserves to be tried.
It would be a big inconvenience for you all too. I mean,
Idaho's a large state. You're talking another 12 hours of travel. We wouldn't be able to go home at the same day. Now you're staying overnight. And like you said, this is the community that was, this person, they victimized them, and the justice deserves to be felt local, and they have a hand in it. And that's what we believe in.
And you know this area well. You've been in court today too, listening to the defense's arguments. Do you think they could find a fair jury here?
We know they can, and we've actually asked and done interviews ourselves, and they have to find 12 people plus some people on the side, some substitutes. But yeah, they can find 12 people that have made their mind up.
That's not that hard. Yeah.
It is so strange that Christy Gonzalez actually believes that it's not so hard to find 12 jury members that are non-biased in Idaho, Moscow. Steve said that since the quadruples happened there, they should be entitled to have the trial in Later County. If 12 hours ride is far for the Gonzalez, I really have empathy, and I wish that it could be done closer so that the families could be there. But then, this ain't about the Gonzalez. This ain't about the Chapin, this family. This ain't about the Canodals, and this ain't about the Morgan family. This is about Brian Koberger and his family. He's been sitting in for almost 2 years. He's entitled to a fair trial. And I think what is bugging them all is they're starting to understand that they don't have much on Brian Koberger. Is that why they put this gag order? So that we wouldn't investigate and believe actually that they had a lot of evidence. This case is starting to sound like a proper cover-up. But I'm surprised that Steve, Chrissy, and Steve Jr., Kaylee's brother, his mind is already made up that Brian Christopher Koberger is the person who did this. Now that clearly shows that this family is biased by already prosecuting a person when the trial hasn't started. It's kind of disturbing. Very sad.
We asked and done interviews ourselves, and They have to find 12 people plus some people on the side, some substitutes. But yeah, they can find 12 people that have made their mind up.
Yeah, that haven't made that's not that hard. Yeah. I just don't. Yeah, I don't see that being that hard at all.
Well, they have one expert that says you can call the jury and they can still remain, not contaminated, not biased. And then you got another expert that says once they hear something, they never can get it out of their head. So, you can weed those people out just through the jury selection and say, hey, if you're at that vigil, let us know. And you can weed these people out. And yeah, I don't even think it's fair, but, for the sake of the case, you can get those people and remove them. Let's just say that they are some kind of bias there, but you remove those and then you just move on.
What the Congalvis family doesn't understand, I believe, is that even if you go and find 12 jury members that you all believe are non-biased, you still cannot guarantee if they are really non-biased. They can pretend that they haven't heard of this case. And just be a jury. This is really sad and heartbreaking that a young man's life is online. Everything's on a gag order. Later County wants to prosecute him. And I mean literally prosecute him. Where's the justice? This case should be moved to Idaho County because the media is much lesser than Later County. Idaho County or Ada County is 12 hours away from Later County. But I believe that will be good for everyone because this case has traumatized the students, parents of Idaho Moscow. Up to today, I'm sure students that have never met these 4 victims, new students, have heard about it. Everyone has heard of it. The house has been demolished, so I don't think I will find somebody who's non-biased. This case needs to be moved. The Congalvis family need to understand that Koberger is entitled to a fair trial. He's not begging for a fair trial. He's entitled to that. And by you all, I mean literally the prosecutor, the Congalvis family, and many other people trying to crucify Brian Christopher Koberger without him getting a fair justice is wrong. It's sad. It's baffling. Why would you want to fry a person when you don't even have the facts? Isn't the case under gag order? I think the Congalvis family, with all due respect, has done enough, more than enough. They're on all interviews. They've given us some important information like Kaylee and Maddie were found in the same bed. They gave us the information of what position Kaylee was found in. But then there's so much that they don't know that they're sitting here and guessing, and those speculations are what the world is listening to. So the people in Later County has already made up their mind because they believe that Chief Fry, the Congalvis family, the parents, all believe that Koberger did it. So they are all going to believe the same thing. I personally believe that the Sigma Chi fraternity boys were involved, and other people from the university. Where are the 3 unidentified male DNAs? Why did they demolish the house? Why are these people rushing to try this case in Later County? Questions need to be asked. Questions need to be answered. Justice has to be served in the correct manner, not because it's 12 hours distance for the parents. I do understand. It's sad. It's heartbreaking. But they need to understand that just like they are crying and are heartbroken for Kaylee and Maddie and the other 2 victims, they should understand that Koberger, his family, is worried for him too. If he did it or if he did not do it, he still deserves the correct justice. So may the correct justice be served. Please like, share, and subscribe. It just takes a minute. And it does help the algorithm